Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. Well, it's time to start tearing apart the rear end on this thing. I got lots of stuff I need to do. The bushings in the back, which will be another video, but right now I'm going to go ahead and I need to start tearing some stuff off. I'm going to go ahead and put the lift on. Now this is a Super ATV lift, and I don't need a ton of lift, but when we go over like little rock, well, pretty good sized rocks, or hit some really hard bumps, we bottom out quite a bit. I have no idea why. Regardless, I think this is going to help. We got bolts, stickers, thank you, and 3 packages of things. No instructions, it doesn't appear on this in this one, but when you go online, oh, we got another sticker inside the packaging here, so open up your packaging and they'll have another sticker for you. But if you go online, there are definitely instructions that you can download or look at on your computer pretty easily. It's kind of too bad they don't just put them in, because I don't use my phone or my computer out in my garage. I don't get very good internet out here, and I'm not even sure how to do it on my phone, and I can't see half the things on my phone anyway. So first thing I'm going to do though is take off the tire. That is a, I believe, a 17 millimeter. Yep, 17 millimeter. And it came with 2 of these here. And I'm not sure if those are for the anti-sway bars. I don't see any reason why I need these. And I've taken the sway bars off my rig. I may hook the rear back up depending on how this goes, but right now I'm going without the sway bars, and it's actually handling almost better, and definitely less tippy when we go over inclines and things like that. And I feel like the suspension works better. I'm much happier. I got this thing, the shocks I have completely all the way wound as high as they'll go, and I don't have the sway bar end links, and I'm very happy so far with it, except for the fact we hit boulders when we go over things. Anyhow, I'm not sure. I think that might be what these are for. Yet again, I'm gonna have to go in and get the instruction, either get it copied or take a real good look at it. I was able to go on the Super ATV website, and I don't know if you can see any of that because I can barely see it, but I can actually blow things up where I need to. Regardless, and I actually just took pictures of the instructions. You can, I believe, upload them or download them, whatever it is. I am not technically savvy at all when it comes to computers. I already took off my sway bar end links and things like that. Now, from reading those instructions on this particular 2011 RZR, I believe you'll have to read the instructions yourself, or at least go online and figure this part out for yourself, because I'm not doing it, so I'm not going to worry about it. But if you have your rear sway bar links on there, you would take them off, do this, and then flip them upside down, I believe is what I read, to make it work in this situation. And then if you have the 2011 and earlier on the front, you have to replace your sway bar end links with this right here, which I'll throw this in my rig like I did with the other ones and carry it with me. And if I ever need to put them on for some reason, if I feel like I'm going down some really fast trails and I'm getting a little bit off kilter and don't like it, then I might throw these back on. But right now, so far, I've done some pretty speedy stuff on some pretty fast roads with no sway bars on this machine, and I've been quite happy with it. I mean, clear to the floor, kind of whatever the speeds will go on this thing, and hadn't had any problems. But yet again, I am no expert at driving or anything else. You are responsible for your own safety and how you decide to do this. But regardless, I'm not putting sway bars on this or end links on this thing, so there you go. Now you know. We're going to go to the next part, and that is removing the shock springs on the, I'm just going to do it on both sides. You're just going to kind of see me working on one side. On mine, I got a 15mm here. Now this has a nylock nut on it, so I would recommend doing all this by hand, not using power tools, just for the simple fact that these nylock nuts will kind of wear out after you've done it too many times, and they can actually heat up and have problems if you whiz them out too fast. But yet again, to each their own. Lift up on it, pull that out, and bring that forward and let it rest. And then do that on the other side as well. I don't think you need to take your tire off to do this, but in fact I'm not going to take it off on the other side, but for filming I figured it'd be easier. Working on the back end here, I think I got things figured out by reading the instructions. First of all, you need your two longest spacers. They came out of here, right here. Then your two next longest spacers that you have came out right here. You need 4 of the nuts, which all the nuts appear to be the same size, so you shouldn't have to worry about figuring out which nut it is. And then 4 of these M10 by 1.5 by 70 bolts. And that should be everything we need to do the back end here. So there's the bolts right there. So far I've kind of taken a look at these brackets, and I really don't see, they look identical whichever direction you wind up putting them in. The thing I see the most, and hopefully you can see this, is that there's kind of a piece welded on right here, and those go to the inside of the bracket. So one of these goes, it appears, on this side over here, and this is where the shock was originally hooked, right here, just so you know. And then the other one, yet again, these little bracket or weld-on pieces right here, that goes towards the front now. The ones on this front one went towards the back, so they face each other. Hopefully this makes any sense. Watch out for all your stuff, and those just sit nicely right there. According to the instructions, you want the bolts going back to front. Why, I don't know, but that's what it says. So you put that through, then you take the shorter of the spacers I grabbed, that goes in the middle of those, and then that goes through, and then through. Those go through where those spacers are right there that are on the bracket that were welded on that I talked about in the beginning. And then we have some nylock nuts that go on here. Now we're just going to put these on by hand for now until I get all of it done. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we got the rest of the nuts and bolts here, and you got your longer spacers, the same nuts. Those go in here, and this looks like it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to actually do. I'm going to go through the top here and try and horseshoe that bolt, which I did. Put that through until it goes through the other side. There you go. So I brought my spacer in through the top here and was able to just squeeze it on there. Put the nut on. Keep it all loose for now. Same thing on the other side. So I can't see anything that actually says to go ahead and tighten these up. But all we have left now is putting the shocks on. These don't feel like that's going to make a big difference other than maybe hold this up some. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of let that stay where it is. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up. You need to decide for yourself. Let's see what size these are. Yep, they feel like 15mm as well. Now, I didn't see anything that talked about foot-pounds or anything like that in the instructions as well, so you are responsible for how tight you make these. I'm not going to tighten it, crank it right now. I'm going to kind of get them all close, and then I'll crank it down. I'm going to take it back. This one here, yep, this one is a 15 millimeter. This one is actually a 14 millimeter. So I noticed when I went to snug it down, it just wanted to turn. So I went ahead and tightened that one down good. I snugged down the two middle ones as tight as I can get them, and then did the other side. Now I'm going to finish off with this side here. So now it's time for the shock here. Now putting this in, you got two different heights. You got the furthest one inwards, so the furthest hole in. That is the lowest setting for this particular rig. I am going with the furthest one out, which is the highest setting. So hopefully I'm going to have to lift up a little bit here. I did say if you go with the highest setting on here, you also need to go with the highest setting on the spring adjustment here, which I also have mine on already. Yet again, you got to figure out your proper torque specs. I'm just going to snug it up here. And in case you didn't already notice, I'm using the original hardware in this one. We're on the front end here doing the lift, as well as I'm going to be doing the bushings on the front end here. I need to take this off for both those videos. I actually need to take the bottom one off for the A-arm and the top one off for the lift, so I'm just going to take the whole thing off. So if you need to know how to take the bushings out and replace them on this rig, go check out that video on my Polaris RZR 800 playlist. It's a 15 millimeter on both sides here. So now if your vehicle has the sway bar end link here, that's going to be attached to this. That's why I got this extra shim in here and just reused the same bolt with an extra shim. There's a whole story on that when I did the sway bar. I have a video on that as well, taking those off, so you can go check that out and the story about it on the RZR playlist as well. And then just kind of lift up on this, it'll fall free. And then on this one, you got to use the end wrench up here on this side, actually facing in. Made it easier on the other side. And that pulls right on out fairly easily. So I went ahead and pulled the front end off here. It'll make it easier to film. I don't think you need to pull the front end off, but I have another reason as well. Well, besides I'm doing another video on the suspension here and I needed it off for that, but also I needed to unhook a bunch of these wires because I put signals and stuff on this to make it road legal. And unfortunately, when I start looking up underneath here, they ran a lot of these wires through here, and most definitely this one right here is going to have to move because that piece goes right across here that goes across the top. So I'm going to have to do some maneuvering and moving of wires, and hopefully this doesn't turn into a whole nother mess of having to rewire a bunch of stuff, which I need to do anyways, but I just don't have the time, so I'm not going to do it regardless of what I have to do. This tube right here will probably be something you need to move and relocate right here. In fact, I'm just going to pull that out. Make sure you relocate this up high where it's not going to hit water. This is the vent for your front end here for your differential, and if that's not up high, it'll suck water in and you can have problems. So there you go. Now you know. I'm going to get to moving some stuff here. I think my winch wiring should be fine because it comes across here and that goes that way. So mainly I just got the one wire that really needs to be moved. Now we're here on the front, putting this part of the lift on. Now this is the one, you got slices here, and I don't know if you can see it right here on this. Now that slice goes towards the cabin or the back of the rig, and we're just going to stick that through here being careful not to hopefully get caught on anything. Again, we have the slice. Now that slice is going to straddle this right here. Now this is where the shock originally was mounted. Now we got our, I believe they're the 1060 bolts. We have our 25 millimeter spacer, and it says 25L in the packaging, and we have the same nuts as all the rest of them are. And we're going to throw this up in here yet again. You have the bracket goes on the inside where this slice is right here. Where it'll go in. I have trouble getting the bolt where it'll go in. There goes that spacer. Luckily I have one for this other side. Try not to drop it and make it slide into the other side. There we go. Alright, now we can kind of lift up on the middle here and get that through. And put our nut on. Loosely. We're going to go do the same thing on the other side. So I got this all up in here. It does move a little bit, so I have not figured out if you're supposed to tighten these down yet. But I figure if I lift up on that as high as it'll go and kind of go back and forth and hit the middle, I can make that work. Also, I'm going to stick this the wrench up in here so it kind of holds on to the frame area. I'm not pulling on any wires or any hoses or anything like that, and that way I can hold up on the bracket as I tighten and kind of get it where I want it or think it needs to be. To hold it and finish it off. Yet again, up to you to figure out torque specs. I need to put the shocks back in, and I found from the other side after I put the bottom in and started trying to get this top in here, it wasn't going to work. So make sure you put the top in first. And this one has to go from the back because I can't get it past this piece here. And I've started Loctiting things as I've been putting them on. I know I need to do more work to this, and I probably should have told you to Loctite everything when you finish up. Even though these nuts technically are the locking nuts, they're kind of a one-time use thing, so you really do want to do that. And then to get this bottom one on here, I noticed I had to put that in there and use a punch from the other side here and kind of lift it up to get that actually in. And even then, it's somewhat difficult. Do this under your own caution. Like I said, I have never screwed up a bolt doing that, so to each their own. And I am putting the original fasteners back in. Now, this is where you need to look at your instructions, because I have a whole bunch more of these nuts and bolts in this package, as well as a couple more of these spacers, and all that stuff goes with the sway bar end links that you can put on this that comes with the kit. I am not putting those on yet again, so there you go, now you know. And then tighten everything up and we should be done. Alright, and I almost screwed up. Luckily I didn't. You want to make sure that your adjustment stuff is where you can see it. If I would have flipped this around, it would have made it next to impossible probably to adjust this very easily. So Alright, I think we're done. We're going to get this on the tires. Unfortunately, I was stupid and I didn't get any before footage. I'm going to see if I can find some previous videos with some good footage with me next to it, and then you'll be able to see it when I get done. But until then, I'm going to get this all put back together. You don't need to see me do that on video. It's the same thing as pulling it apart. Well, there it is, all up in the air. It is actually quite a bit higher than it looks on camera, I will have to say that. I do have some video of it sitting in this area with the camera facing this way. I can't get the angles exactly the same, but I do have some videos when I was doing my fire extinguisher install, the install of that fire extinguisher holder that's in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and stand by it. Hopefully between those two you'll be able to get somewhat of an idea of how much it lifted. Now this is as high up. I got the suspension jacked all the way up on front and back, and I have it on its highest hole, which brings it to the highest point as well. Plus I'll do a little bit of measurements. So hopefully this gives you an idea of me comparatively. We'll see. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a tape measure and kind of do a little bit of measurements. I don't have the previous measurements. I needed to get this done, and I started it sooner because I had it up on the lift already. So I didn't get a lot of before stuff, unfortunately, and I probably should have done that. Sorry about that for those of you that are going to wonder, but I'm going to measure it now. I may have some measurements at some point in another video, but I really don't know if I do. So that's 1 foot 5/8 inches. That's about 11 and a half. It actually sits down a little bit in the back, about 11 in the back. And then at the bottom of the hitch in the back, where the little square hitch is there, that is right at 10 inches. So it actually kind of starts higher and goes lower in the back. But that also, these are original shocks, so who knows how much sag there is in those. At some point I'm hoping to find a better set of those again. Well, hopefully you got something out of that. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junk Works Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.